Fatimah's Sorrow, Episode 1. Fatimah, born in Kaduna, emerged into the world with the promise of simplicity and hard work. At 15, her mind buzzed with the aspirations common to youth, brimming with visions of the life she could carve for herself. Little did she know her destiny had long been etched, veiled from her innocent gaze. Yearning for nothing more than the chance to unfold her potential, Fatimah craved the freedom to pursue knowledge and share it with the world. However, fate had woven a different tapestry for her. Unbeknownst to her, her father had woven the threads of an arranged marriage long before her birth, binding her to a path she had not chosen. He was not unkind. He simply believed he was safeguarding her future. Yet the weight of his decision bore heavy on his heart. Now he grappled with the daunting task of revealing this predetermined fate to his beloved daughter. Amidst all the wonders Fatimah had ever beheld, the nocturnal sky stood unparalleled in its splendor. The stars shimmered brilliantly that evening, each luminary dot converging in the vast expanse, crafting an exquisite tapestry against the backdrop of darkness. Fatimah unlatched her study windows, permitting a gentle breeze to cascade through the chamber, alleviating the lingering warmth of the day. The breeze caressed her skin, imbuing her with a tranquility she cherished. Within the late-night stillness, she found solace akin to the calm center of a tempest, shielded from life's tumultuous chaos. Retreating from the window, Fatimah settled at her desk with a sigh of contentment, relishing the silence before delving into her history tome. Seated there serenely, traversing the realms from her sanctuary, she found joy. Releasing another wistful sigh, she turned the page to resume the chronicle of the valiant Queen Amina of Zazao, now Zaria, whose legendary valor and exploits captivated her imagination. I wish I could emulate her, Fatimah mused dreamily, allowing her imagination to wander, conjuring visions of herself adorned in warrior regalia with a jewel-adorned crown atop her head. Unbeknownst to Fatimah, a tempest loomed on the horizon, a storm so formidable it would shatter her dreams and upend the course of her life entirely. Fatimah, come here for a moment. Her father's call from the adjacent room jolted her from her reverie. Yes, father, I am coming, she responded, readjusting her spectacles before placing her pencil on the table, marking her progress for later continuation. Fatimah understood the importance of promptly heeding her father's summons. Malam Abdul Bada was a stern disciplinarian, brooking no nonsense from anyone, especially his offspring. The solitary instance where Fatimah dared to defy her father occurred years prior when she was merely 9. On that fateful day, while engrossed in play with her friends outside their abode, Fatimah brazenly ignored her father's call. To cut the long story short, she swiftly learned the consequence of underestimating her father's authority. Should she ever forget, the scars on her right thigh served as a poignant reminder to adhere to the right path. Fatimah closed her bedroom door quietly and hastened to her parents' chamber, entering to find them seated adjacent on the couch. Her mother's gaze remained averted, refusing to meet Fatimah's eyes, while Malam Bada wore a somber expression that gripped Fatimah with apprehension and a hint of fear. Familiar with the gravity of her father's demeanor, she braced herself for the impending conversation. Here I am, father, she announced simply, awaiting with bated breath for the revelation about to unfold. Fatimah, Malam Bada commenced, his voice tinged with calm yet unmistakable agitation. Yes, father, she responded tentatively, her affirmation tinged with uncertainty. Whatever transpired, it boded ill. Her father, typically resolute, was visibly perturbed, and her mother's steadfast avoidance of eye contact only heightened her disquiet. Malam Bada sighed, resuming after a momentary pause. You are 15 now, and have blossomed into a fine young woman. Yes, Fatimah replied hesitantly, her affirmation resembling more of a query than a statement. Her heart raced, sensing the impending gravity of her father's words. You are aware of our customs? He continued, his tone grave. I trust you have been educated in our traditions. Another pause ensued, during which he glanced at his wife for assistance, yet she remained fixated on a spot on the floor, as if unable to meet Fatimah's gaze. Fatimah's heart seemed to momentarily cease its beat. The only custom her father could allude to was... Malam Bada drew a deep breath, fixing Fatimah with a somber gaze. Fatimah, you have been betrothed. Fatimah's heart skipped, then plummeted, as though sinking to the very depths of her being. The room constricted around her, suffocating her senses. She stole a glance at her mother, her disbelief silently imploring confirmation. Her mother's eyes betrayed a remorseful guilt, confirming Fatimah's worst fears. What do you mean? Fatimah stammered, tears welling in her eyes, blurring her vision. It means you are to be wed, and soon, Malam Bada elucidated gravely. Though the words were not unfamiliar, their weight bore down upon Fatimah with crushing force. The world seemed to tilt on its axis, and she struggled to draw breath. She wished for escape, for the earth to cleave open and swallow her whole. But wishes were futile. She fought the urge to scream at her father, to demand how he could subject her to such a fate. What of her dreams, her aspirations? She had envisioned a future of exploration, of education, of service to humanity. Yes, marriage had lingered on the horizon, but not like this, not arranged. Her marriage was to be her choice, not dictated by others. Yet now those dreams lay shattered, beyond her grasp. What about my education? She protested weakly, her voice trembling with hurt and betrayal as she locked eyes with her father, seeking solace and understanding. Your education is a matter to discuss with your future husband. I understand this is difficult. Mother, please, Fatimah implored, turning to her with pleading eyes. I am sorry, Fatimah. The die is cast. Her mother apologized, her gaze downcast in submission. But, Fatimah's voice faltered. No buts, Fatimah, Malam Bada interjected firmly. This betrothal was set long before your birth, and our family honors its commitments. We will not falter now. Fatimah was stunned, grappling for words, anguish mingled with despair, kindling a flicker of anger within her breast. Is this true? She demanded, her eyes meeting her parents through her glasses. Her mother awaited her father's confirmation. Yes, Fatimah, it is true. You have lived by the teachings of the Quran, and you understand the sanctity of promises. Her father affirmed resolutely. While his words rang true, they offered little solace. A promise withheld from her was no promise at all. It was unjust. It was cruel. Why was such a promise made? Fatimah's voice trembled. Silence was her only reply. Will his family accommodate my illness? She ventured, her desperation shifting tactics. Do they know of my condition? Do not worry, my dear, all will be well, her father reassured, attempting to infuse his tone with comfort. A heavy silence descended, thick with tension. Fatimah felt suffocated, trapped within the tumult of her thoughts. The eye of the storm had passed. Now she stood alone in the hurricanes. Fatimah stirred from slumber early the next morning, greeted by a throbbing headache. Sleep had eluded her, granting only a fleeting respite. Despite the weariness weighing upon her, she resisted the allure of her bed's warmth. Education trumped comfort always. So with resolve, Fatimah rose to prepare for school. Her shower lasted a mere 10 minutes, and she swiftly donned the brown and white uniform she had laid out the night prior. Fetching her glasses, she emerged from her room to find her father settled in his chair, engrossed in a newspaper. This world worsens with each passing day, he remarked, eyeing an article detailing yet another harrowing case of assault against a young woman. Fatimah shuddered at the grim reality depicted and averted her gaze. Dad, I'm ready for school, she announced, gesturing towards her backpack. Malam Bada folded the newspaper with a smile. Ah, my dear, he began, but was interrupted by Hajia Bintu's call from the kitchen. That's good to hear, he concluded, patting Fatimah's head before rising to join his wife. Shortly after, her mother entered the living room inquiring, Fatimah, are you leaving for school soon? Fatimah nodded. Yes, I'm all set and will depart shortly. Her mother frowned, shaking her head. Without breakfast? Please wait, it'll be ready soon, she insisted before retreating to the kitchen. I can't afford to wait, Mom. I'll be reprimanded if I'm late, and there are activities scheduled before class, Fatimah pleaded urgently. Hajia Bintu turned back, her disappointment evident. Fatimah, you know well that neglecting your health will only lead to illness. Your well-being comes first. With a resigned sigh, Fatimah agreed to wait. After a brief interval, Hajia Bintu ushered her into the kitchen, urging her to eat and retrieve her packed lunchbox. Fatimah hurriedly consumed her meal and after a few minutes prepared to depart. She bid farewell to her parents with hugs and waves before almost exiting the kitchen when her father interjected. "Fatima." She halted, pivoting to face him. "Yes, sir?" "Regarding our conversation last night." He paused, seemingly grappling with his words. After a moment, he continued. "Insha'Allah, your intended and his family will visit this afternoon. Could you please return home early after school to meet them?" Instantly, nerves fluttered within Fatimah, but she quelled them swiftly. "Of course, Dad," she affirmed with a nod. He merely smiled, his attention returning to the newspaper spread before him. With that, Fatimah departed for school, her thoughts consumed by the impending meeting awaiting her that afternoon. Fatimah arrived at school promptly in the morning. Yusuf Dangote High School, nestled in the heart of Kaduna, welcomed students of diverse faiths and tribes. Spotting her class teacher, Mr. Sani, stationed at the gate with a cane in hand, Fatimah's heart fluttered with apprehension. His stern countenance instilled fear, for tardiness equated to significant trouble. Yet, to her relief, Mr. Sani spared her, allowing her passage without reprimand. Grateful, Fatimah offered her thanks and hurried into the school compound, silently praising God for the day Mr. Sani discovered her condition as a sickle cell patient. At the assembly ground, Fatimah encountered her classmate and best friend Memuna already in line. "Hey, Fatimah," Memuna greeted enthusiastically. "How are you today?" "I'm fine, and you?" Fatimah replied. "Never better." "Have you finished your economics assignment as?" Fatimah inquired, though she knew she shouldn't have. Memuna grinned mischievously. "Nope, not yet. Why bother when I have a genius friend who's willing to share?" Fatimah shook her head playfully, teasing Memuna. "Who said I've done it? I was at the hospital over the weekend, so I couldn't." A flicker of panic crossed Memuna's face. "You're kidding," Fatimah smiled. "Just pulling your leg. It's in my bag. You can copy it, but you'll need to do it before first period." Relieved, Memuna chuckled. "You shouldn't tease me like that, but thanks anyway." Amidst laughter, they resumed following the assembly proceedings. After approximately 20 minutes, the assembly disbanded and students dispersed to their respective classrooms. Memuna and Fatimah sought a secluded spot for Memuna to transcribe the assignment before heading to their class. Finding shade beneath an almond tree by the canteen, Memuna settled down to work, transcribing from Fatimah's notebook. As Fatimah observed her friend writing, her mind drifted to the daunting new development in her life. She decided to confide in her friend, knowing she'd need a supportive shoulder when the time came. "Memuna, I won't be staying for lessons today. I need to head home early because we're expecting visitors." Memuna paused, glancing up. "Visitors? What kind?" Fatimah sighed deeply. "You won't understand now, but I promise to explain everything soon." Memuna regarded Fatimah with a puzzled expression before finally replying. "Okay, but don't keep me waiting too long, alright?" "Yes, I promise." "Sounds good then." Memuna finished her work and rose from the bench. "All set, let's head to class. It's almost time for first period." Fatimah arrived home promptly changed out of her school uniform. Feeling famished, she ventured into the kitchen to prepare some instant noodles. Sated and slightly rested, Fatimah returned to the kitchen and noticed a note left by her mother on the countertop. Hajia Bintu had instructed Fatimah to prepare a meal for their forthcoming guests. Without delay, Fatimah set to work, quickly whipping up tuwo shinkafa, a local delicacy made from rice. Once done, she reheated the mayan tushe soup her mother had prepared earlier on the electric stove. Setting the table in the dining room, she placed both dishes in the oven to keep them warm. Feeling a wave of exhaustion wash over her, Fatimah retired to her room and soon fell asleep. She woke to the sound of her mother repeatedly calling her name. "Mom, I'm coming," she called out, rising from bed to open her bedroom door. Offering her mother a greeting, she listened as Haja Bintu spoke. "Walaikum salam, Fatimah. I've been knocking for a while now," her mother began. "I apologize, Mom. I was exhausted from preparing the meal you asked for," Fatimah explained. "May Allah reward you, my dear. You look worn out. Should I give you a massage to help you feel better?" "I'm alright, Mom. No need," Fatimah assured her. "Regardless, let me help. We have important guests coming, and it wouldn't do if you were unwell." Resigned, Fatimah acquiesced and led her mother back into her room. Fatima and Hajia Bintu remained in the bedroom, chatting and giggling like the closest of friends. Indeed, the massage from her mother had left Fatima feeling incredibly relaxed. Suddenly they heard the front door unlock, followed by Malam Bada's excited voice announcing his arrival. "I'm home." Fatima sprang out of bed and hurried to the living room to greet her father. "How was your day, Dad?" she exclaimed, enveloped in his embrace. "It was fine, dear. Is your mother back yet?" Malam Bada replied, planting a kiss on his daughter's forehead. "Yes, she's inside." Just then, Hajia Bintu entered the living room and greeted her husband with a kiss. "Assalamu alaikum, sweetheart, welcome." "Walaikum salam. Thank you, honey. How was your day? I hope it wasn't too stressful," Hajia Bintu inquired, guiding him to a seat before gently massaging his shoulders. "Not at all. I came back early because of the visitors we're expecting." "All right, dear." Hajia Bintu continued the massage. Malam Bada groaned in pleasure. Gaskia, that feels good, dear," he murmured. "Fatima, you have to make Fatima look very nice this afternoon. My princess must look even more beautiful than she already does," Malam Bada said, still enjoying the massage. Hajia Bintu nodded, checking her watch. "Subhanallah, it's almost time. Didn't you say our visitors would arrive by 5? "Yes, I was informed they'd be here by 5, Malam Bada confirmed. Hajia Bintu ceased the massage, rising from her seat. "Come, sweetie, let's get you ready. We don't have much time left," she urged, beckoning Fatima to join her. Fatima hesitated, feeling reluctant to undergo the makeover. "Dad, I think I look fine just the way I am," she protested. "I know, darling, but you need to look a bit more attractive," Malam Bada insisted. "Okay," Fatima sighed, resigning herself to the inevitable. She turned to her mother, who awaited her impatiently. "Let's go." "Dan Allah, make it snappy. Don't spend the whole evening in there," Malam Bada pleaded. "Haba, don't worry, we'll be out in no time," Hajia Bintu assured him, leading Fatima into her room. Several minutes later they emerged, Fatima adorned in a beautiful black abaya with gold trimmings, complemented by light makeup enhancing her features. A crisp white hijab completed her attire. Her mother too had changed into a similar outfit, albeit with a brown hijab and heavier makeup. "MashaAllah!" Malam Bada exclaimed upon seeing them. "You both look beautiful." Half an hour later, their visitors arrived. Malam Bada ushered them into the living room, offering seats. "Assalamu alaikum." "Good evening, madam. Please come in and make yourself comfortable," Malam Bada greeted warmly. Mrs. Danjuma, accompanied by her son Mrs. Danjuma and a couple of relatives, entered the house exchanging pleasantries. "Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi, sir. A good evening to you too," Mrs. Danjuma replied. "We hope we haven't troubled you by arriving late. There was so much traffic on our way here." "No problem, ma'am. What matters is that you made it here," Malam Bada assured her. "Thank you, sir," Mrs. Danjuma said, proceeding to introduce her son Jubril as the intended groom. The story continues. Watch out for episode 2.
Thank you for watching, and we hope you have learned something from our stories. Please write in the comment box, and also, please subscribe to our channel for more captivating and educative folktale stories. See you in the next story.
Fatima's Sorrow Episode 2. "Good evening, sir," Jubril greeted respectfully, shaking Malam Bada's hand. "Good evening, my son," Malam Bada replied warmly. Mrs. Danjuma then introduced Jubril's paternal uncles, Mr. Musa and Mr. Audu. Jubril's parents had separated years ago, leaving him under his mother's sole custody, hence his father's absence from the occasion. "Welcome, my in-laws," Malam Bada greeted them, shaking their hands. "Allow me to introduce myself. I am Malam Bada, father of the intended bride." After the introductions, Malam Bada excused himself to call out Fatima and her mother. In the bedroom, Fatima heard her father's approach and felt a surge of fear. The moment she had been dreading was finally upon her. Her father's voice reached them from outside the door. "Fatima, Fatima, please come out now. They are eager to meet you." "We'll be out very soon," her mother replied, turning to Fatima. "Let's go, honey." "But Mom, I'm scared," Fatima confessed. "Please don't be my child, the visitors won't bite," her mother reassured her, planting a kiss on her cheek. "Besides, I'm sure you'll like him." "Okay, if you say so, mother," Fatimah sighed, allowing herself to be led out into the living room. Fatimah entered the room, her legs trembling, supported only by Hajia Bintu's hand around her shoulders. Her mother guided her to a seat, and as Fatimah glanced around, she saw her father, two unfamiliar men, and a lovely middle-aged woman smiling at her. Fatimah presumed that the boy seated next to the woman was her intended groom. She swallowed hard, lifting her head slightly to observe him. To her astonishment, she recognized him immediately as Jubril, her senior at school. Perhaps it was the intensity of Fatimah's gaze, or the strain in his neck from bowing for so long, but Jubril raised his head, locking eyes with her. He was equally stunned, realizing that his intended bride was none other than his junior at school. For a moment, they stared at each other in disbelief. Jubril marveled at Fatimah's beauty, which he had never truly noticed before. "Jubril, this is Fatimah," Malambada began, pointing at Fatimah. "He is your betrothed." "Assalamu alaikum," Fatimah mumbled shyly, bowing her head once more. "Father, I know him. We attend the same school, though we've never spoken." Her father smiled warmly. "Mashallah, that's splendid. Don't worry, you'll get to know him better," he assured her. "You know what? Jubril's family and I have a few things to discuss, so you both should go to the balcony and talk." Jubril and Fatimah complied, excusing themselves to the balcony. As they stood together, Fatimah couldn't help but notice Jubril's tall stature and handsome features. He didn't seem arrogant at all. "Hey," Jubril greeted her. "Hi," Fatimah replied softly, her eyes cast downward. "I'm in disbelief that we're about to get married. Honestly, I was taken aback when I found out you were my intended." Jubril paused, clearing his throat. "But I must admit, after seeing you, my interest may have grown." Fatimah too had feelings for him, but she couldn't bring herself to confess. She was determined to halt the marriage. "We barely know each other, so please tell my parents you don't fancy me," she implored, her desperation evident. "I'm truly frightened." "Why the fear?" Jubril asked, concern coloring his voice. "I'm inexperienced and afraid of the responsibilities of marriage. Plus, I'm not ready for pregnancy." Fatimah's voice quivered, tears welling up. "I dream of becoming a doctor. Can I pursue that dream if we marry now?" Jubril remained silent, prompting Fatimah to continue. "I'm aware you're the most popular guy in school with a girlfriend. It'd be easy for you to reject me to my parents." She hoped he'd understand and decline. Jubril smirked, folding his arms. "Is that all?" "What? Did you not hear anything I said?" She sniffled. "I heard it all, but those reasons aren't enough for me not to like you." Fatimah grew more desperate. "Fine, here's a strong reason. I have sickle cell anemia. You could tell them you'll tire of my illness." Jubril chuckled, surprised by her change in demeanor. "I didn't expect this from you. You're usually reserved," he remarked before addressing her concerns. "First, I promise to wait until we both graduate before any intimacy. Second, I'll ensure you complete your education, up to any level you desire." He paused, voice softening. "And about your illness, I'll care for you. I may not know how now, but I'll learn, God willing. Please, stop crying, and let's make the best of this situation. Our parents expect us to honor tradition." Fatimah realized she couldn't argue. He had addressed each concern. "I never mentioned my age. I'm 15. How old are you?" she asked, wiping her tears. "I'm 16, he replied. Their conversation continued, and Fatimah found herself drawn to him. When her mother called them for dinner, she felt disappointed. An hour later, Jubril and his family bid the Badas goodbye, expressing gratitude for the lovely meal. "See you at school tomorrow," Jubril whispered to Fatimah before leaving. "Take care on your way back," she replied. Fatimah's parents were pleased with how everything unfolded. Malam Bada smiled proudly at his daughter. "You've made us proud. Thank you for not letting us down." Hajia Bintu hugged Fatimah. "See, I told you'd like him." Fatimah admitted the arrangement wasn't as bad as she thought. "I should head to bed. I want to leave early for school. Good night." The next day, Fatimah encountered Memuna on their way to school. "Are you okay, Fatimah? You seem upset," Memuna inquired with concern, noticing Fatimah's somber expression. Fatimah acknowledged the concern. "Something serious is troubling me," she confessed sincerely. Memuna, sensing Fatimah's hesitation to speak, encouraged her to share. "You should talk to me." They say a problem shared is a problem halved. Struggling to find the words, Fatimah devised a plan. Because I can't find the words, I'll write it down in a notebook when we get to class, she suggested. Memuna agreed, and they walked in silence to school. Once in class, Memuna handed Fatimah her physics notebook as promised. Memuna was shocked as she read Fatimah's written confession. She couldn't believe her friend was facing marriage at such a young age, especially to the school's most popular guy. Despite her surprise, she responded with reassurance in her note. Fatimah found comfort in Memuna's response, relieved to have someone on her side. During break, Jane borrowed Memuna's notebook, unknowingly stumbling upon Fatimah's conversation. Surprised and scheming, Jane saw an opportunity to gain favor with Habiba, the school's popular senior and girlfriend of Jubril. Jane swiftly showed the note to Habiba, hoping to impress her. Habiba, furious at Fatimah's confession, plotted revenge. At the crowded school canteen, Fatimah and Memuna struggled to find a seat. Fatimah, realizing she left her purse, hurried back to the classroom, leaving Memuna behind. In the classroom, Fatimah encountered Habiba and her clique, who attacked her mercilessly. They dragged her to a secluded building, leaving her battered and bloodied. Concerned for Fatimah's absence, Memuna searched for her friend in vain. When Memuna informed Jubril, Fatimah's betrothed, he joined the search. The story continues. Watch out for episode 3.
Thank you for watching, and we hope you have learned something from our stories. Please write in the comment box, and also, please subscribe to our channel for more captivating and educative folktale stories. See you in the next story.